So apparently, little Dutch boys don't know how to set an alarm on their phones.
It's not even dark.
It's not even dark out. How you doing, buddy?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm pretty good, man.
Okay. What's the Kobe? Okay. Little
Opinion.
Doppelbock.
A little
I'm just trying to see
Weizsäcker.
the link. So I've got that,
Well,
which is this is the way.
this is the way because apparently Dutch brewers don't really know how to brew proper Star Wars beers or Star Trek beers. We do have a few. We get those Stormtrooper beers here.
Yes, we do. They're brewed at Vocation.
What? The Stormtrooper shit is Vocation?
Yeah, contract brewed at Vocation.
Fuck off. All right, that's great. Look, first of all, let me just really a big apology to all of you who are watching and who were expecting me about half an hour ago because I'm not going to tell Paul Keys. I fell asleep after dinner. But yeah, that's what you do. How you doing, buddy?
Fine. Sorry, I just keep muting myself because the dogs are being a bit barky. He's been fine for the last half an hour now. He's suddenly wants attention. 2 seconds, I'll just take him outside.
I'll do that. I'm going to go quickly check on what people are saying in the comments. I hope everybody can still hear me properly. So we've got a few comments going on. Lots of good weekends, good evenings, waiting for me. Yeah, you are. Coffee it is. After that, an IPA from Bust Gland received 48 cans today. How you fucking doing that, man? So I'm just going to grab beers where I'm... I really actually wasn't awake. I have a special mild, which I'm curious about. Hopefully he's asleep.
My audio's all messed up. You sound like R2-D2.
I do?
Yeah. Might be me. Let me just come out and go back in again. Sorry.
Wait, no. Wait. How's this? Is this better?
No. Same.
Give me 2 seconds.
Hang on. It might be me. Sometimes it just happens with my USB headphones.
How about now? Am I better now? This is a wonderful start to a live stream. So anyway, most people are just going on about talking a little bit about the beers they're drinking, and Mr. Corbinian. This is the final practice for your beer to produce. This will be a nice weekend. There we go. That's where Adam said goodbye. There we go. Adam is having some. Can people properly hear me? My sound is all right. I just heard. That's good. While I'm waiting for Adam to come back online, I'm going to go quickly send a message. So, yeah. Yes, my audio is all right. Oh, wait. Sorry. Yeah, he's back. Add to stream. There you go, buddy.
Yeah, it's this. So StreamYard really hates headphones from a phone. It doesn't work at all with my Bluetooth. USB is a bit hit and miss because I have to use an adapter until you go on desktop mode and go into the advanced settings and change it, which I didn't do before. I now have.
It's not just you. Lately, StreamYard has been becoming great with non-headphones because they're really working on that software manipulation where they're working on the data stream that's coming in to make sure that you don't get any echo effects.
Yeah.
When you're using no headphones, but without headphones, with headphones, apparently they're still working on. But anyway, so what we're doing here is we're going to have a little chat, something that you and I have been talking about for quite a while.
Probably 12 months,
give or take. Two things ended this week, which was season 3 of The Mandalorian and the entire series of Star Trek Picard. And we're going to have a little chat about both. And you actually have a beard that's proper for it, because that's what you guys do.
Yeah. It's not a proper mild, though. Just having a look at it. It's very brown. Almost like a bitter colour.
That is way darker for a mild.
Way darker?
From my angle, from my point, but that's maybe because the way that a light in... Oh, yeah, now it's... Yeah. Oh.
It's almost like a dark bitter, a brown bitter or a brown ale.
But is it any good?
It does have some of the aspects of a mild, but it's leaning towards a bitter sort of. It's got no bitter. It's got no bitter aftertaste, but it has the malt forward, which you'd expect from a mild, but you'd want that sort of smoky or sort of malt finish, and it just has the malt forward start and then fades to nothing. It's fine. It's 3.5. It's not too bad.
So apparently it is not the way.
No. We are going to talk about it, so it's up to you.
So, Stuart, here's the thing. We're going to talk about Mandalorian, the last episode, as well. There will be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, this is not the way. This is not the way. Like people saw probably, I'm drinking Corbidian. I was looking for a Star Wars beer. I don't have any. I couldn't find any in a short span of time, so I'm just going to go for a lovely double bock and something else along the way. My dear Adam, where do we start? The Mandalorian or Picard?
In my notes, I've got the Mandalorian first, so it's up to you. Just because that finished earlier in the week.
That's true. And I just finished Picard like a few hours ago. This is a pity, mate. I guess I have to go there. This is the way. I am sorry that you have to go shoot. There will be spoilers ahead. If you really mind them, yeah, sorry, you have to sort of not be here. You can always rewatch, of course. And
after you've watched it.
And if you don't mind spoilers, just keep on watching. Let me start with this, my friend. Apparently, if I turn on a certain channel on the TV right now, I will have 55 years of Star Trek in the background. There's probably some old show on.
Sounds like a documentary.
Probably. Your in a single sentence, your thoughts on Mandalorian season 3?
Not very well planned, or it doesn't seem to be very well planned.
I think we're kind of on the same track here, buddy. Did you think season 2 was better? Yes,
it was structured better. I think we had a very strong start to season 3, and then it sort of faded, a bit like this beer. Started well and then faded to nothing. But then, at least at the end, the very last episode, well, I'd say the last 2 episodes sort of saved it for me. I thought we had some storylines in the middle that didn't really need to go anywhere. There
were a lot of little things in this season that I figured they had bigger plans for and didn't know what to do. And some of it happened in like the first 2 episodes. So one of the big things that really bugged me, in the first episode, it was all about, I need to go get IG-11.
Yes.
And I need to find a special part for IG-11. So he flies off in his wonderful new ship, which I, by the way, really dig. I love the Nubian Starfighter. That was, actually, I really like that. It doesn't make sense for a bounty hunter.
They say that, though, in the second series. They say it doesn't really make sense for you right now.
But it sort of works for where he is at the moment.
Yes.
And then he flies off to Tatooine to, I forgot her name. I'm blanking here, but you know who.
The mechanic.
Yeah, and he's like, I need to find this part for a droid, which is essential. And if I do not find the part for this droid, my plans will be ruined. And she's like, I cannot help you find the droid. But here's a droid. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
What?
And then it doesn't work anyway.
What happened there?
Nope. All I can think is it was a way of getting Grogu to be able to fight against Moff Gideon, and obviously his army to get to that place without spoiling Baby Yoda.
Yeah, but because going with the old wraparound for the entire show, going back to the final episode of the season, apparently it was all about just getting some sort of mech for Grogu.
Yeah,
and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this is kind of okay. It's fun. It looked cute, but why?
Yeah, and also the pay. Well, I say the payoff, not the payoff in the roundup at the very end where he becomes the marshal, IG-11. So
but
obviously,
it wasn't. Yes,
head in a bar.
But it wasn't even IG-11.
No.
Suddenly it was IG-12.
Yeah. Don't know.
Okay, so getting that out of the way, but that is one of the things that I felt in this season is that they had a lot of. This is my going back to Picard later on.
Mm-hmm.
Mandalorian season 3 had what I felt was the issue with Picard season 2, where they had a great idea to start and they had a wonderful place to end it. They knew what they wanted to do. And then they just sort of figured, how are we going to fill this gap?
Yeah.
And they just sort of fucked around a little bit.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed as well for Mandalorian is, what happened to R4? He's very key in the end, and then he's never seen again.
Wait, wasn't it R5? Was it R4?
Oh, no, it was R4.
Oh, it could be
R4D5, maybe.
R5. I thought it was an R5, but whatever.
Maybe it's an R.
But then suddenly we're reminded, like, oh, did you guys remember that we had this astromech?
Yeah, remembered he came with you, and then remembered that you can use him to unlock, certain doors, and then just forgotten about him at the end. He got taken away by little police droids and never seen again.
That's what this entire season was. We had a lot of shit in between. Hello, Jack Black.
Yeah, Lizzo.
Fucking Lizzo.
Yeah. Doc Brown.
I'm not Doc Brown. I was watching that episode and I was just sitting there after he was introduced. I was sitting there for 5 minutes going, what just happened?
It was a waste of an absolutely superb actor, Christopher Lloyd. I honestly thought I really wanted him to be Hando from the Clone Wars and Rebels series. Who's this pirate who would have been the right age at that point? He's going to be in his 80s. He's sort of cantankerous, and I thought that would have really suited Christopher Lloyd at this point in his career. But no, he's a throwaway character that turns out to be the villain for that particular episode.
Jamie, we're talking about Star Wars Mandalorian Season 3 and Star Trek Picard Season 3 later on. We're starting off with Mandalorian.
There is spoilers as the name of the video.
Lots of spoilers. If you haven't seen any of it, I love it when people are watching this, but if you're watching this and you haven't finished either of those seasons, fuck off doesn't just mean go away.
Oh, that's so mean.
Fuck off means fuck off. No, of course not.
No, that's so mean.
It is very mean, but people will be spoiled if they keep on watching. So keep in mind, if you're watching this and if you don't like spoilers, stay here. The thing is, though, the more and more I look back at season 3 of The Mandalorian, it sort of went from how are we going to get to well, basically, Bo-Katan being the leader of the Mandalorians.
The Mandalore.
How is basically that's it's Bo-Katan wasn't just the leader of the Mandalorians. She was Mandalore.
That's what the title is. It's not king or anything like that.
No, that's the title. That's a good thing. The title of the ruler of the Mandalorians back in the olden days of the Star Wars mythology is you are Mandalore.
The Mandalore the Great was the first one. Her father was, I can't remember what her father's name is. The man, it's like the Mandalore well respected or something to that, or something of that effect.
This is a fun thing. I do play Star Wars The Old Republic. Now, I don't play Star Wars The Old Republic, but in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, in the first and the second part of those games, the RPGs, not the online RPGs, but just the RPGs, Mandalorians actually are a big part.
Yep.
Especially in the second one. We learn a lot about the mythology behind the Mandalorians and Mandalore. And the entire creed, actually, of for Mandalore. So it's fun that you know a lot about that, Jamie.
Do you want to know more plot points that went to nowhere?
Go for it. Just name things, and I'll be there.
The Darksaber, where it was so important, then it wasn't important, then it was destroyed.
It was literally crushed like a soda can.
But to be fair, there is a reasonable explanation for that. The reason why it was crushed. You're talking Beskar on Beskar, and then that point you're talking about there is what's the name? Force. What's the measurement for force?
Midichlorians?
No, not that kind of force. Pressure measurement. So it's the PSI. Which you could hear it that it's a mechanical arm. But it's Beskar on Beskar, so it will break, and it isn't all Beskar. So that's another.
Which was again another silly point. One of the worst things in this season. I suppose I understand the plot point is that Bo-Katan didn't need the Darksaber to finally be Mandalore. Well, fine, but there were other points to make that. There were other ways to make that point across.
Yep.
Second off, what the hell was with this sort of Darth Maul, Darth Vader getup that Gideon was wearing?
Well, it's a suit, wasn't it? It's a Mandalorian suit, so that's his style choice.
Yeah, but certainly there was a big Darth Maul hint there with the spiky horns on his helmet. But it had this big Darth Vader vibe. It came sort of out of nowhere to suddenly have him look like a Sith Lord without him actually being.
If you believe the online things, where all those Dark Troopers were Mandalorians.
But the Dark Troopers were basically But here's the thing: the Dark Troopers were basically droids in season 2.
Yes, but they're not. They were people this time, and he said that at the beginning.
Did he?
Yep. And so, are they the Mandalorians that followed Darth Maul?
I couldn't remember somewhere. I'd have to rewatch season 2. Did he specifically say that there were people inside those suits? I mean,
no. In season 2, they weren't people. But in the beginning, when you see them first, he says that he improves them into suits.
Yes, that's true. Now I'm talking about
so they contain people.
Okay. I thought those were just basically.
No, they didn't move like droids. They were people.
Oh no! I realized in season 3 that they were people.
No. You're right. In season 2, they were completely droids.
That's another point. In season 3, we went from the Dark Troopers to suddenly having them which we know that are droids. Mm-hmm. And in season 3, suddenly they were people. But where did they come from? Were they indeed, like you said, were they former Mandalorians? Were they?
Yeah.
Troopers? Were they just soldiers?
I'm going to say combination of all of the above. And the other thing is, was that Moff Gideon? Was that the actual Moff Gideon that died? Didn't have a mustache. Where's the mustache? Just shave the mustache off for shits and giggles. Did he never have the mustache to start with because he was a clone?
He was cloning himself. He was,
and none of the clones had mustaches.
Fuck.
So was that were they the second batch of clones? That Din Djarin, and was it the Moff Gideon? Was that the first batch of clones that weren't Force sensitive?
You son of a bitch!
I
had to notice that. Fuck.
Another clue is that Giancarlo Esposito was signed on for another season.
Go fuck off. Fuck off doesn't just mean go away. Fuck off means fuck off. I hadn't noticed that. Shit. So here's something that I usually do. What you and I both do is when I follow a season and then I'll spend a day or so on YouTube looking at some of those conspiracy theory YouTube videos and see what I think. And sometimes I think those are legit, and sometimes I think these ideas suck. I haven't done that yet, and you just mentioned this one, and now I'm sitting here going like, "Fuck."
Yeah, never had a mustache. He didn't just shave it off. He never had it.
He didn't have a mustache. Wait, but when we saw Gideon earlier in the season, before we saw him in his, did he have a mustache then?
No.
And he had a mustache in.
Yeah. But why can't he just be a mouthpiece for the original Gideon? They don't know. They don't know the Shadow Council that he has a meeting with. They don't know he's cloning himself. He outright says he's not cloning himself. So
he's talking to Hux at some point. Hux Senior, by the way.
Wonderful. Hux's father.
Oh, I would like to go back to that one before we go into this one.
Yeah.
Amazing throwbacks to both the sequel, trilogy, and the original trilogy. Really, finally doing a favor to what a lot of fans have been hating since The Rise of Skywalker. I would like to say, by the way, I enjoyed The Rise of Skywalker with its flaws. But one of the biggest things in Rise of Skywalker is, of course, this entire 2-word throwaway line on how Palpatine returned.
Mm-hmm.
And they're working on that here. The Shadow Council, the cloning, talking to Hux about, cloning is not my thing, whatever he literally said.
And what was it? Project Necromancer.
Which is interesting. We get a lot of throwaway lines that are going. I mean, I haven't read some, but not a lot of the original Star Wars expanded universe. But there was so much going on here with Pelion being in the comics and the books. Mm-hmm. He was Thrawn's second-hand man.
Yes.
And all these lines talking about Thrawn, going back to by the way, for those people who haven't seen it yet, the trailer for Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And of course, indeed, Rebels season, was it, what
6? Seasons? No, we didn't do 6, did they? That was Clone Wars.
How many seasons did
3?
5? Anyway, the last 2 seasons because it wasn't just the final season, in the last penultimate season, but mostly the final season of course, Star Wars Rebels. Wonderful little cameo of what's his face, the big Wookiee-like creature, Wookiee as in the original look for the Wookiees in Star Wars Rebels.
Oh, Zeb! You're talking about Zeb?
Zeb,
yeah.
That little throwaway cameo out of nowhere for Zeb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
you wouldn't expect he would be the first one to see, because that CGI must have been a lot of work for 10 seconds of dialogue.
Which again, and we can reference this in Star Trek Picard talk, which we're going to do later. The fact that they made such a big effort of such a motion capture CGI character for 10 seconds of a throwaway line. We haven't seen him in the Ahsoka trailer.
Mm-hmm. No,
he's going to be in there.
Yeah,
they wouldn't just do all of that. in a build-up towards Ahsoka and not put. He's going to be in Ahsoka because we've seen Sabine, we've seen I forgot her name, the Twi'lek.
Hera, yeah.
We saw the droid. We're seeing so many people.
I want to see a Caleb Dune flashback or a Caleb Dune Force Ghost, please. I want to see Freddie Prinze Jr. with a horrible wig and facial hair.
Great trailer that was, and I'm really looking forward to it. So let's do a few roundups towards, because we've been talking for about almost half an hour. Let's do a few roundup talks about Mandalorian. Did season 3 work for you?
I think it's got us to where we need to for the Ahsoka trailer. I think, the hints for Thrawn have been enough. I would have liked to see more than just a tease of the mythosaur. I think the building that, I think that might be a long way down the road, and I think this was just the initial sniff of the mythosaur, if you will. I think it had a lot of. I think the milking Grogu's slow growth. I think that's something that's a commercial decision at this current time. And I think Giancarlo Esposito is a brilliant actor, and I think he just needs more time to chew the scene. And I would like to see him again in another series. It would be great. I think there's a lot of stuff where it just went to nowhere, and I don't know whether we're going to get the payoff for it. I think I'm hoping the Darksaber being destroyed is going to definitely factor into Ahsoka with the lightsaber droid from Clone Wars making an appearance in the Ahsoka trailer. That would be nice. But
it's a fair point.
It's transitional.
There were a few things that definitely I really loved this season. I love the fact that this entire reuniting the several factions of the Mandalorians and trying to. It's not. I mean, if the next season of either Ahsoka or the Mandalorian is going to have this sort of completely reunited Mandalorian faction, that's going to suck. But this entire idea of this growth of how Mandalorians between when we saw them in the Old Republic era, in Knights of the Old Republic and things, going to the point where they are now, how separated they are, the different factions, the different views of point on, cults and everything, and then suddenly being reunited. What I really enjoyed was Bo-Katan finding her place, saying that she needs to follow the creed for a while and wearing the helmet all the way, to having the armorer saying, if we are to be one united people, we need to find common ground, and saying Bo-Katan walks to both worlds. She follows the creed, but she can be without a helmet.
Yeah.
That was kind of awesome. Also, by the way, did suspect throughout the entire season that the armorer would be the bad guy or something. The bad person. Yeah. That was some. There were some points here and there that made me feel like she's going to betray everybody. Maybe she still will. I don't know.
I have a sneaking suspicion that's going to be Sabine's sister. Because Sabine's sister was with Death Watch.
I'm still here. Sorry. It's not like my audio dropped off, but I'm just sitting here going like, fuck.
And I think that'll be paid off in the Ahsoka series. I think that's because it's insinuated that there is going to be a Mandalorian crossover within the Ahsoka series, and I think that might be it.
Fuck.
She's her older sister. She was with Death Watch. She went missing.
She knew all about Death Watch. And when she started
she was second in command.
Death Watch, when she started talking about, when somebody said you're Death Watch, she was like,
well, what's left?
Jesus fucking Christ.
And also, what's the name? Who died in the second to last episode? His father was first in command. So why are they so close? Is because basically, what's his name? Vizsla.
Vizsla. Yeah.
He was in. His father died.
Yeah.
So if his son was on the moon, why would she not raise him?
That's a very
as a commander son.
In the old canon, the entire Concordia, they didn't really touch upon it that much.
No. And
Concordia, if you look back to Clone Wars, Concordia was a big freaking deal.
Yeah. The exile?
Basically. So going back to reuniting the Mandalorians and touching upon Concordia, but not diving deep into Concordia, there's probably going to be, like you said, some sort of throwback, payback about on all of that. So one of the things that I wanted to touch upon, the very almost throwaway part of dealing with the Darksaber. That is either very sloppy writing or something that's going to get a payoff in future seasons. Because
it's a plot tool.
If you look at the Darksaber, for those who are watching, the Darksaber, there's going to be Star Wars fans who haven't seen the Clone Wars yet. In the Clone Wars and in Rebels, the Darksaber is a huge deal. The Darksaber for the Mandalorians is big. And we got this huge... I mean, you can't have a show about the Mandalorian going into Mandalorians, and then in that final episode, those final few seconds of the first season, suddenly seeing Moff Gideon with the Darksaber, right? That was huge. That was a big thing several years ago.
Technically, not obviously in real life, but in the storyline, the Darksaber is older than Yoda. That's how integral it is.
That is how important it is. So having this entire thing in season 2 about the Darksaber, having Din Djarin wield it, but not being capable with it, and in what we basically call season 2.5, because at the end, the Book of Boba Fett became season 2.5 of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Seeing him struggling with this concept of what the Darksaber is and what it means for him and for Mandalorians, then doing this build-up towards Bo-Katan and just having it destroyed in a throwaway line. There's something about all of that that's going to have a payoff. If it doesn't, I'm going to be surprised, because we are talking about both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. It's going to be a thing. It has to be.
Filoni.
What did I say?
Fillion.
Sorry, Nathan. Filoni. It's going to be a thing later on, because having this big of a part of Star Wars expanded universe mythology.
Well, they've already announced that the TV movie is going to be Heir of the Empire, which was the big expanded universe book.
Basically, I'm going to quickly comment on this, by the way. Remy, they already announced that there's going to be a Fast and Furious 11. They already did. No, it was literally announced 2 days. Who's going to be the director? There's going to be a Fast and Furious 11. It's a thing. Don't worry.
Does there need to be a Fast and Furious 11?
That wasn't even a need for an episode 7, but they keep on pushing them out, and it's like, I mean,
does it need 2 spin-offs?
And I mean, I enjoy the movies as guilty pleasures. They're fun, and but whatever. I like them. I enjoy watching them, but they're not great anymore. But they don't. That's the thing, though. Fast and Furious movies don't need to be great. They just need to be.
Yeah.
And one more thing for The Mandalorian. The Navarro situation.
Yes.
Was weird. Suddenly Navarro went from my point of view, within several months, went from this sort of mosh pit kind of
Yeah.
colony
Yeah.
into this thriving agricultural, municipal, I don't know what you want to call it, but it just...
It had to. It had to, because at the point of he was excommunicated from the Guild of Bounty Hunters, and they basically crumbled the organization, and that was the only thing stopping invaders, because they're not Empire, they're not New Republic. As he says, they're a independent world, and the thing is, the Guild of Bounty Hunters was basically preventing people from coming in and invading them. And as soon as Grief Karga was excommunicated, and it basically folded in on itself, there was no protection, and he tried to make it a trading post.
I know,
legitimate.
Come on, he went from a badass character to... I mean, we're talking about
it was adapt or die. It's adapt or die.
I know, but he went to such a little...
What'd you do? You just carry on and hope the pirates don't turn off.
Yeah, I suppose. Which he did.
Yeah.
Oh man, the pirates were handled well. By the way, that was awesome.
From what I understand, that's the new series Skeleton Crew, which Star Wars spin-off with Jude Law. For what I understand, is the pirates are the crossover point.
Really, that's a nice one.
Yeah,
I mean, you have to, because the pirates in this season, the ship, the way they acted, the way they sort of betrayed each other, it all worked. That's the kind of pirates that I expect from a Star Wars show. I thought that was handled brilliantly.
Yeah.
And let's see, there was a few things that I felt like were a bit.
There's one thing I've got for you, which might annoy you.
Go for it.
How can someone explain to me how does adoption work in the Mandalorian Creed? Because it seems that it just solves everything.
He could have done this 2 seasons ago. He could have literally done that 2 seasons ago. Right? Yeah. That kind of felt weird. I mean, Din Grogu.
Yeah. So why is it? If it's Din Grogu, why is it Boba Fett and Jango Fett? Is Fett his first name?
I didn't get that, but maybe that's a faction thing. But what I also didn't... If there was one point in The Mandalorian, and that's what a lot of people expected to happen, is Din Djarin finding his own way in The Mandalorian Creed about showing face. A lot of people, including me, expected this season to have an ending where he, towards the rest of the Mandalorians, sort of took his helmet off in front of Grogu and say, "This is the way," as in sort of, "This is my way. I am no longer part of your faction. I am not a part of the Night Watch, Death Watch. I'm a part of my own version of what I take the Mandalorian Creed to be. I have learned a lot, and this is my family. He is my son. I have learned much about how I should act in this world, and this is the way. I will present myself with a face." I sort of expected, because that's
open now. It's open now for him to take his helmet off, because that
I know,
is...
but why did the season end on that? Why did the season end on him saying, "Yeah, come on"? But that was like that they could have handed that in like less than a minute, where he took his helmet off and said, "This is my way, not this is the way. This is a way. This is my way. This is whatever you wanted to say." But it could have ended on him being okay with, because it just doesn't make sense anymore. In the end of the way, if you look at the amount of people in the end of season 2 that he showed his face to.
But he can just resolve it by bathing in the pools of Mandalore now. So he can just take it off at any point.
Yeah, like, I'm going to take it off, I'm going to go back. I'm going to say, no, I need a resolution where he's, it's not as if I hate those fanboys that say I need, but from my point of view, the way that I would like it to go is he takes his helmet off and realizes that the helmet isn't the end all be all. I don't know.
Should we leave it there and move it on to Picard?
Yeah. So, I have something to say about Picard season 3.
Okay.
That I can say before we go into all the details. Was season 3 the ultimate fan wank?
Yes.
And one big nostalgia tour.
Yeah.
And something to just sort of gratify old school Star Trek fans in the biggest way. Yes. But with a few minor exceptions, did it work? Yes. From my point of view.
I'm gonna bastardize this conversation, but if you ever watch The Sopranos, he says reminiscing is a circle jerk.
Oh, come on, wasn't it? I haven't seen The Sopranos, but wasn't it? It was.
It's all. Yeah, it's reminiscing about, because I've been gone back and watched some key episodes of The Next Generation just because there's so much I've forgotten. It's been years since I watched it all the way through.
Do you know what, for me, the moment, because I only watched the final episode today. You watched it yesterday. Mm-hmm. You know which moment made me realize, even though things didn't always work out, and Terry Matalas did a great job this season to really reminisce on the Next Generation, but also so many visual cues towards the Kirk movies.
Yeah.
The cloaking effect on Titan.
Yeah.
Was like literally Star Trek: The Search for Spock, Bird of Prey.
Well, it is, because it was stolen from a bird of prey.
It was the effect compared to the Next Generation Deep Space Nine cloaking effect.
Yeah, but
it was.
They've always kept that for birds of prey, and it was a bird of prey cloaking system.
That was fucking chef's kiss. That was perfect.
The moment that
go.
It wasn't this episode. I think it was the episode before, when they go onto the bridge of the Enterprise D, and it says "Welcome, Captain," and he goes, "I'll accept that field of motion." I thought that was really a lovely point, because they've not changed. Yeah, and also they've not changed any of the dialogue for the actress that does the voice of the computer, because she's unfortunately passed a couple of years ago. So all it is dialogue that had already been it.
It was a part of what I understood. It was the same thing they did for James Earl Jones.
No, that was they didn't. It's completely it's complete dialogue from episodes and the films. They've not all. Yeah, they've not all.
I thought it was the James Earl Jones things, where James
Earl
Jones did more dialogue, but they
couldn't get her permission to do it. But with previous, it's not her permission. It's the family's permission. Didn't approach them to do that. But what they did, they used it from excerpts and recut it.
Look, I'm just gonna say, hearing Michelle Buret's voice as the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And this is the nostalgia thing again. So many times during this episode, the final episode, I find myself muttering, basically saying out loud, "Look at my old girl fly. Look at the old girl go." And the moment where I realized that Terry Matalas understood what fans, even though it didn't always work throughout the season and there were flaws, the moment where he understood what fans wanted to see was Riker, Worf, Picard, and Jack looking up and seeing, in their perspective, in real point of view, the old D swooping in and hovering above them. I cried a little bit, man, because that shot, even though it was complete fan wank and it was complete over the top and it really didn't work, but that concept of Terry Matalas understanding how many fans, as little kids, little children, grew up, and this idea of their savior, their hero, this big ship hovering above them and saving the day. It worked. It looked, and just the CGI, it worked. For me, it worked, even though completely on a reasonable point of view, being reasonable, realizing that was complete fan wank.
The bit that got me,
go for
it. It was a melancholy sigh, was towards the end where Data is speaking to Diana Troy, and he said, "I cried today when I saw one of the crewmen feeding his cat." I just thought, spot. that got me. I was like, oh no. And I just said out loud, "You can get another cat. It's not the same, but you can get another cat."
Because actually, literally earlier today, I was talking to my girlfriend, and about having to put your cat down and what that did to me.
Yeah.
And I saw that scene, and I realized, I understand what that meant to Data. I love the little throwaway lines. I love Data pushing towards, and I love that. I love so many of the little looks in between Geordie and Data, where he keeps going like, "Trust me," and then they do the thing where
trust
they fly.
My gut. Your gut.
Trust my gut. Your gut. And then Deanna sitting in her chair, going, "Why am I sensing joy?"
Yeah,
and just that look on Data's face.
That a very law aspect of Data. I know he overtook Law's personality, but there is aspects of Law still in him now.
Which I really didn't mind, which was great, because that is actually right now, right here. And I can understand some fans being disappointed, but this was the Data that Soong had in mind.
Yeah.
This was Data that he wanted to create. Data finally became the son Soong always wanted.
Prior to before Data was even created, that's what Law was designed to be, and it went wrong. And then Data was, and then you had B4, which was too innocent. It's a spectrum.
And if you really think about it, like Alton Soong, the child of Soong himself, isn't it such a thing where, as a father, I'm not a father, I know, but as a father, as a parent, what you want from your children, it's very metaphysical, all of this, I know, but when you think about how it took the son to create the son that the father always wanted, and how that all sort of came together.
Well, you look at the son, the Soong heritage, and it's riddled with people like Law. You look at the last series, that iteration, Khan is also part of that family.
Basically,
it's geniuses and megalomaniacs.
So here's the thing that's going to piss you off. Shelby.
Yeah, it was a nice little touch. Janeway thing pissed me off more.
No,
I've tried to I've tried to contact. In the third or second to last episode, I tried to contact Admiral Janeway, and I can't get through her gatekeepers. And that was a real, because she hasn't turned up now towards the last episode. That felt to me like a bit of a snub towards Kate McGrew, and that's because you haven't answered us. We're gonna shit all over your character.
Yes and no. You have to realize I haven't seen an episode of it, but Kate McGrew is, of course, right now a big part of Star Trek Prodigy.
I haven't seen it.
Me neither, but she is a part as a voice actress, and her character of Janeway, both the hologram Janeway and the actual Janeway, are big parts of Star Trek Prodigy. So I understand that they didn't want to get in the way of Star Trek Prodigy. On the other hand, I feel that there were ways to make it work. There could have been ways. I mean,
Are you telling me? Are you telling me that what's his name, Tim Russ?
Tim Russ.
He spent more than a day on set to do the 2 very short scenes that Tuvok had.
I understand. I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. It could have worked, but I understand because of the future seasons they have planned and what they want to do. They felt like, because let's be honest, for the generic viewer of Star Trek, of course, the connection between the Borg and Picard is big. But look at what the Borg and Janeway, the Borg and Voyager, the connection. I had expected a lot more from even 1 or 2 little hints, a little bit more than they did, between what Janeway and her crew did in demolishing the collective.
Yeah.
And I understand, by the way, because you and I chatted a little bit in this, Girardi and her collective. I mean, they were completely
just ignored.
But Shaw himself commented on this earlier in the season, right? Just forget about Girardi, and he literally said, forget about Girardi and what she did for the Borg. He said, the Borg are still out there. This was hinted in season 4, I think he said. Episode 4, I mean. So it was all hinted towards that. They dropped hints. But the fact that the end of the season 2 ended with Girardi's collective being such a new introduction towards the future of the Federation.
Yeah, basically like a sort of an interview.
Fucking ignored.
Completely ignored, yeah.
What the fuck?
I know. It's that storyline went to nowhere, basically. Again, it's another one where it goes to nowhere. It's 2 different directors, 2 different producers across 2 different series that don't see eye to eye.
No. Terry Metalis was a big part of season 2.
A big part, but he wasn't in control, is what I'm saying.
But he could. No, but saying that when he became a big part of season 3, and that's the thing, though, because but
if he didn't agree with it, he's not going to include it, is what I mean.
Yeah, but he is about his continuity. He's big on the continuity. Also, not because okay. Let's go back a little bit before we get sidetracked. First of all, I want to ask you, what did you think? Not even talking about where his character ended. I'm talking about the initial concept of Jack Crusher.
It's a nice nod back to a previous husband. It's also a nice nod back to season 2 with how Picard is with his rest of his family. You also go back to Generations, where not Generations the film, sorry. Well, yeah, a bit Generations the film, but mainly the TNG, where Picard's relationship with his brother, who ultimately dies. Picard's relationship with family is not good. And for him not to be excluded from his son's life is another aspect in Picard's relationship with his biological family, and not the family that he chooses in Starfleet.
Yeah, the ultimate decision of people saying, the people behind season 3 saying, let's just literally address the elephant in the room. Picard and Crusher had a kid.
Yeah. He knew they were having it away. They were.
Makes so much fucking sense.
Yeah.
And even understanding the concept of Beverly wanting to, looking at what happened with...
She was in First Contact, though.
Yeah, of course she was.
Yeah.
They were all in the movies. But
yeah.
The entire concept of Beverly saying, looking what happened with Wesley.
Yeah, that when she said, "I've lost another son," I was just going, "He's not lost. He's out there. He's out there doing good."
But for her point of view as a parent, she lost him. Reasonably, Like intellectually, she can comprehend, she can reason through the fact he's not lost. But
But
as a
I don't
parent,
think she knows. She
no, she
never
knows.
said. She
She
doesn't know
knows
whether
that.
he's alive or dead. The last
No, but
time she
she
saw him.
knows. Well, I'm taking some of the novels in canon, I suppose, but she knows that he's basically alive because we
Or
saw him
was
in
alive.
Nemesis. Well, do you know, by the way, the scene in Nemesis, Star Trek Nemesis, we see him sitting at the table, right, in the wedding.
Yeah.
Do you know that do you know how they wrote that in the novels?
No. He just turned up.
He just turned up but he was confused. He thought that was the Betazoid wedding,
Yeah, right.
and he thought like, "Oh shit, I should appear naked because it's the Betazoid wedding." And they quickly made that's a lovely little line in the novels, how to work in canon, blah 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 blah. In the novels, one of the writers was like, "Wesley is there." Okay, he popped up as the traveler, thought it was the Betazoid wedding where everybody's naked. And because the rest of the crew was in the dress uniform, they were like, bleep bleep, Enterprise, please beam down a dress uniform in this and this size, so this person doesn't have to walk around naked. Unfortunately, there are a few deleted scenes for Star Trek Nemesis where it is hinted that Wesley is actually the chief engineer aboard the USS Titan.
Mm.
By the way, fun fact: do you know why the Titan A is the Titan A?
No.
But it is referred to as Riker's Old Command
No.
because it is literally the Luna class USS Titan that we saw, but it was so severely damaged that it was refitted into the Neo Constitution class. It is literally the USS Titan from the novels, from the Luna class that we saw, that was designed by a fan for the novels and whatever, but it was retrofitted, refitted into a Neo Constitution class. Old parts were taken into this new class. It is literally, and then it was rechristened the USS Titan A, and then, now let's address the elephant in the room. It was redressed, it was renamed into, you want to say it?
The Enterprise?
Yeah.
And there is a Picard on the Enterprise in a very unusual role. Advisor to the captain. Surely that's the first officer's job.
So, is it stupid? It's fucking stupid.
I'm gonna have to go for another beer. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
When you get back, I'm gonna go grab another beer. Because guess what? Guess what? Look at this. We're done. We're done.
You have to scroll back a bit.
You're gonna have to rewatch this. We can comment a little bit on it.
I'll be 2 seconds.
You go grab another beer. I'll go grab another beer when you're back. Go for it. So, Sjoerd, I'm very sorry. We're gonna go back into. We're going to go back into. We might hint a bit towards the Mandalorian, but you're going to have to go rewatch because we're talking about Star Trek Picard right now. You can rewatch and we'll comment a little bit. I'm going to go grab a beer in a little bit. I'm going to wait for my good buddy. Oh, let's see, Jan. Wait for my good buddy Adam to get back. You know what? I can be so quickly. I'm just gonna go grab a beer. I'll be right back.
I'm back.
I heard you laugh, you son of a bitch.
When you come back, I'm gonna say hello there because it's the very tenuous link that I have for this beer, for this next beer.
I just grabbed another Canadian. I got a crate of this shit.
Hello there. Not quite General Kenobi.
Hello there, General.
Yeah.
Okay.
General Sherman, which is an Imperial Red Ale.
Ooh, kinky.
Ooh.
I like that.
8.3 from Thornbridge.
I was about to say that's Thornbridge, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I could tell from the.
Yeah. And it's Galaxy, Columbus, Amarillo, and Cascade. It was East Kent Scoldings only in the mild from earlier.
Galaxy class, huh?
Yeah, I've got the next beer after this is Jupiter if we get to it, but I don't know if we will.
We'll see. We're an hour in, and we wanted to do about an hour, so we'll see. So, yeah. The fan ranking part. Let's get to some of the fan ranking part. We'll talk about because we just went from. We'll talk about when we went from Titan A to. We'll talk about that later.
Oh, that sounds good.
Anton Chekhov. What a wonderful nod that was.
Yeah.
Not just the son of Pavel Chekhov, but they called him Anton.
Yeah, after the philosopher. Great.
Wasn't that gorgeous?
Yeah.
And not following in his father's footsteps. Well, maybe he did at some point, but not following in his father's footsteps as a Starfleet officer, but he became a politician. How is that a Russian politician ruling
over Earth? Yeah. Well, was he Russian? He was born just outside of Moscow, wasn't he? So, yeah, I was going to say, was he Russian or was he somewhere in the USSR, which is not Russia anymore?
That's a debate to have, but yeah, that was wonderful. There were so many little nods towards. I think one of the biggest things that I liked, and both in the end disliked, we went big on Deep Space Nine with the changelings,
which ultimately were pointless
because we were all like, "This is great." I do understand that for a final chapter for the Next Generation, the Borg were supposed to be involved.
It's not the last season, though. They're coming back.
Picard was the last season.
Yeah, but they're coming back.
I loved how Terry Matalas keeps saying that Star Trek Legacy is just a thing in his head. Yeah, go fuck yourself, dude. You pitch this and give it 2 months. So here's the thing. What I have in mind.
Stewart's out, but they're coming back in some form. We're going to get a Worf something, I reckon.
Oh, I have to get back to the war thing. Remind me to get back to the war thing. So I think what happened here is they're waiting.
Oh, it's delightful.
Is it good?
Oh yeah, really. For a beer that's out of date, because I've been hunting for this beer for a long time, and it was best before it was canned on 2nd of November 2021, and it best before was the 2nd of November 2022. It is still banging.
It is a malty beer, and
no, it's not. It's West Coasty forward.
Oh really?
Yeah, well,
when I think of a red ale, I think of malty beer. So I think
all backbones there, but it's hot to fuck.
Oh. Okay, so they already knew that they were going to do it, but Star Trek Discovery Season 2 really worked on this thing about what do we want for a potential Captain Pike show.
Mm-hmm.
And when they realized that the fan response was big enough, they built the sets. They built like the bridge. They don't build a bridge like that and not use it more often.
No.
The same thing they did for the Stargazer Bridge and realized we're going to reuse it as the Titan Bridge in Season 3, right?
Yeah, just make some small alterations.
A lot of people saying that the way that they built this season, Terry Matalas realized that they could do Star Trek, what fans are already calling Star Trek Legacy. It could become a new show. The only thing that I'm bothered about right now is the concept of another Star Trek show set on another ship called Enterprise. Because let's just talk about it. They renamed her the Enterprise G. That was useless. They didn't have to do that. They could have just kept her the Titan.
I wanted it to be. I didn't want it to be 01G. I wanted it to be OOG. I don't know.
Called it the Constitution. Called it a Constitution if you wanted to rename it, but there was no need to say, guys. Somebody
I
on a
thought they were
Star
going to
Trek
call it the
forum,
Stargazer.
somebody on a that was a great nod, by the way, in the Starfleet Museum where you saw the entire ring of ships, and it was ship, 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 ship. It was Stargazer.
Yeah.
And then the Enterprise D. Like the old girls were together.
Yeah. That's
great.
Geordie. That just pissing about, isn't it? I can move them wherever I want. The dock, it's my dock.
But it was great. It was great. But the entire idea of having another show set on a Enterprise is necessary. I don't even need another show set on a starship and the exploring thing.
No.
Strange New World is doing that. If I were to choose, because we're getting Section 31 as movies, we're getting Starfleet Academy. If I had a choice on what new shows could be, I would have loved. This was done in the novels very well. I would have loved. What's it called? Star Trek West Wing.
Like the political landscape.
Yeah, but there's a wonderful novel called Articles of the Federation that really goes deep into like the political side of the Federation, and that was touched upon in subsequent novels. How does the political landscape of Star Trek work? It was great. I would have loved a Star Trek West Wing. Could have been great. We could have seen more of, with maybe a different actor if needed be, but we could have seen. Shit, are they setting this up now? Are they setting this up? And am I just realizing that they're setting this up? They could have done a Anton Chekhov president.
The thing is, it was voiced by Walter Koenig, and he is 86. Now I know Patrick Stewart is spry for his age, but I don't think Walter Koenig is. That's why it was a voice only cameo. Could be. And I think with it as being his son, I did look some quick maths when I was watching it, and he would be old as well. Yeah. So I'm thinking that
people in the Star Trek universe can reach the age of 150.
They can, but my concern is if you're using him, how it's very dark for a Doppelbock. How mobile is he? Can he commit to the time?
Good point.
You've used him as a voice actor, which is fair enough because you can do that in his home, but that you can't make a series out of it. I think it was just a nice little nod.
It is. So,
and also as well the Chekhov. It was nice. Also, it was a double entendre for Anton as well because it was Alton Yeltsin, which is the guy that played Chekhov in the series, who's unfortunately died. And that was another little nice nod.
I love that little nod towards that, but that was horrid. What happened to him?
Mm-hmm.
I dreamed that Thomas in my dream says, "I'm your father." Well, that's daddy issues. So in the series of films, I can't remember what he's talking about the Enterprise. Well, there's been several Enterprises. We'll get to this in a little bit, Stephen. We'll get to the amount of Enterprises. Jamie, I'm drinking a Corbinian, which is a wonderful double bock. But my favorite via Stefana is still, by the way, when it comes to those beers, is the Vitus, which is a Weizenbock. Before we get to the entire Enterprise situation, because there's so much we can talk about.
Don't knock me beer over.
All the things we can talk about. Worf was both amazing this season, and sometimes I feel like, what did they do? Like the entire threesome line.
Yeah. You're a pacifist now. We're all gonna die.
Yeah, but the entire like I will come along and make it a threesome.
I know.
And then they had Riker say, "Are you hearing yourself?" And like that was such a useless line. Do you know what I loved? Do you know what closure? You know what the best moment, oddly enough, was for Worf? And I understood why they did it. His hug with Raffi.
Yeah, that was cute.
he was always so closed and so.
Yeah.
And the fact that he did this moment, not that she hugged him, but he himself decided, this is a person. This is a new friend. This is a new ally. This is a new family, and I will hug her. I cried a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I cried a little bit when he decided, I will hug you. And I thought that was such a great closure for the Worf character. For him to find his way into who he needs to be. Because Worf, I love this about Worf, and I love the things that they did with him in the novels. Some people say that Worf was a weird Klingon. Worf was the archetypical Klingon because he was never raised as a Klingon.
Yeah, no, he wasn't.
And
ironically, raised Russian.
He was raised, well, Russian, but he was raised with this idea of what the Klingon should be considered by old Klingon mythology. And then he got to know people, he got to know real Klingons, and what Klingons in the 24th century sort of strayed away from the old lessons of Kahless. And this is why Worf and Martok worked so well in Deep Space Nine, because if you really think about it, the best Klingon we've ever seen, who understood what modern Klingons should be, but took the lessons of the old Klingons, was Martok. Martok was one of the most amazing Klingons we've ever seen. And that's why Worf clicked so well with him, and why Martok said, you will be part of my family. You are now of the House of Martok. Because you are what a Klingon should be, but I can teach you what a Klingon can be. And I love this thing where Worf just looked at Raffi and said, Rafaela, of the House of Mustafa. And he just hugged her. And I figured that was such a great coming together of this classic Star Trek character, who has been, by the way, the one Klingon, the one Star Trek character depicted in most of the Star Trek shows, in all of the episodes and movies. There was never a Star Trek character that was in more shows and movies, whatever, than Worf. Finally finding that moment where he could be 100% himself, and it wasn't a huge thing. It wasn't a big shot between everybody. It was him and her. It was small.
Just gonna let the dog out. Sorry, I'll be 2 seconds.
Go for it. I'm just gonna wait for Adam. I'm gonna quickly text somebody. Adam's back.
Sorry, he's demanding attention, so I've had to put him in his crate.
That's okay. But I thought that was a great nod.
Yeah.
Him becoming full round and being able to, in this safe, small environment, be himself.
It was nice. We've not really seen the softer side of Worf since DS9 with Jadzia. The crying line made me laugh as well. He goes, I hear that tears are what soothe pain. Having never cried, I don't know. And he has cried, which is, he does, I'm sure, cries in anger when Jadzia dies in DS9.
That little line. So let's sort of maybe start towards wrapping this up, because we've been going on for about an hour. And, okay. But let's address the elephant in the room. USS Enterprise 1701G.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Are we going to talk about the scene during the credits?
Well, let's leave that to the end. Let's go towards
Okay.
what are your thoughts on all of that?
It's I like it that it's got 7 of 9 as the captain, as Shaw is dead, as we knew as soon as he died. I think it's nice that there is a Picard and a LaForge there, but I think it was unnecessary. It was just too much, too far.
Star Trek is not about starships for me. I love it, but the fact that we just had the Enterprise F being decommissioned, she was flying there for maybe like a decade, and suddenly she got decommissioned.
Wolfcraft E.
Yeah,
I love that. That was available.
It was not my fault. But if you just speak chronologically, I understand. I mean, I'm pissed off by some of those weird fanboys who are screaming agony about, this doesn't make sense. But if you look at it chronologically, by the time the E was probably decommissioned, let's just be... Star Trek Nemesis was in 2379. Let's say she had a good few years in her because they did the refit, right, at the end of Nemesis. They rebuild her. They wouldn't have spent that energy on it if they didn't think like the ship can go on for a little bit. Which meant that if that was in 2379 and this was in 2401, which was a fuck up by the producers, by the way. There you go. They fucked up. That just doesn't make sense to go from the E to the F being decommissioned, one of the most prestigious classes of ships ever produced by Starfleet, to just being decommissioned out of nowhere and have an older ship be the G. It doesn't make sense, but I will say I was spoiled about that, and it didn't make sense when I heard about it.
Should have been a Stargazer.
It didn't make sense when I saw it, but the scene itself worked. When Jack said, "Do you think I'm nervous because of myself?" And then seeing Picard's face lit up and almost cry while he realized his son would carry on the legacy of a Picard on the Enterprise. Kind of really worked in the show. It worked. But what my biggest thing is, here's the thing. I've been reading a little bit, and the producers fucked up. They did their math wrong. And apparently the show was supposed to be set years after season 2.
Yeah.
And then they realized season 1 was set in 2399.
Yeah.
And season 2 was set somewhere in 2401. 2400, 2401. They wanted it to be set years after season 2, and then they realized we did the Frontier Day. We did the thing about 250 years after the launch of the NX-01.
Yeah.
And that put the season into 2401.
Yeah, it was like 6 months, isn't it? It's literally 6 months after.
They realized we fucked up.
Yeah.
And they couldn't rewrite that. They couldn't rewrite that. Well, they could have rewritten it when they said that Frontier Day was supposed to be the day, and then they could have said it in 2411 if they said it was the birth of the Federation.
Yeah, the signing of the treaty, which is the end of Enterprise.
And that would have been 2261. But they specifically said the launch.
See, that could have been great. Because you could have entered a holographic speech from Archer, because we know Archer lived long after because they talk about it in the reboot where he's like, I what's named Archer's dog. I've transported Archer's dog.
If you look at the things that were made literally canon because of things that were seen on screen in the Enterprise episode where they go to the mirror universe with Defiant, remember?
I'd hate the mirror universe episodes. I never rewatched them. I hate it. I hate that whole concept.
Right before they did the actual series finales and things, there was a mirror universe episode of Star Trek Enterprise, and the Defiant from the original series that were lost in the Tholian web.
Mm-hmm.
It did a wibbly wobbly timey-wimey thing, and Archer from the mirror universe looked up what happened to our Archer.
Mm-hmm.
Our Archer became the president of the Federation.
Yeah.
That is literally canon because it was on a screen and everything. So it would have all made sense to have that. They probably had that in mind, but they fucked things up and they realized we have to go for 2401. Now that would have made 2411 would have made a lot more sense because we would have seen a even older Picard.
But he is cybernetic. So.
But it would, exactly. But it would also make sense because, come on, even fictionally speaking, and this is the thing that I hate about Chris Pine's Captain Kirk.
They'd have to make Jack older, though.
Well, maybe that. But where the fuck do you go from Starfleet not wanting 7 of 9?
Mm-hmm.
To 7 of 9 being a commander in Starfleet, to 7 of 9 being a captain of an Enterprise in literally 6 months.
Yeah.
So if it had been a decade, you could have said, okay, she had risen up in the ranks. And they were like, okay, you've proven your worth as a commander. We were considering giving you a captain rank and a commission as a commanding officer, and you know what, we're giving you Titan, and the entire idea, this is my biggest fan wank, the entire idea of fucking 7 of 9 being a fucking captain of the goddamn
after being in the Fenric Rangers for however long prior. What I would have loved is I'd have loved her to be in a lieutenant, like first grade, and then like the whole of the command team getting wiped out. Just she happens to be the highest ranking officer.
Jadzia. Not Jadzia, Esri.
Yeah.
Esri Dax. Okay, this is what literally happened to Esri in the novels. Esri Dax from Deep Space Nine was a lieutenant at the end of Deep Space Nine. And then a few years passed in the novels, and she decided she switched to command track. She wanted to be in command.
Yeah.
Left Deep Space Nine, became a lieutenant commander after a couple of years, went to a ship called the Aventine. And then during a Borg invasion, long story, she was the 3rd or 4th in command. She was the 3rd officer or something. Like in Night Watch, she was a lieutenant commander in the command track, learning about command. She was like your 3rd officer, and if things happen, you're blah, 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 blah. Most of the command crew died, and she had to take command of that ship.
Yeah.
And because of the crisis, because a lot of people are dying, we're losing a lot of ships. You are now in command of the ship. We're giving you a battlefield commission. Battlefield commission to captain. That made sense because even though she was a lieutenant commander, but she had earned her stripes over the years. And they said, we are in a crunch situation. You need to become the captain of the ship. That made sense. According to the timeline right now in Star Trek Picard, 7 was literally just within months, Starfleet-wise, okay, you know what? We're going to give you a shot. We rejected you at first. She said this, right, in Star Trek Season 2, I think, Season 2, that she wanted to be in Starfleet, but Starfleet rejected her.
Yeah.
Because of her Borg connections. So literally within like 3 or 4 months, she went from, you know what, we're going to give you a battlefield commission to commission. Jesus. We're going to give you a battlefield commission to commander and 1st officer. And now we're going to make you captain of the fucking Enterprise?
Mm-hmm.
That should have happened in like a decade.
But they did it in the reboot for Kirk. Kirk was straight out of the academy, and then he was captain.
And it was stupid there too.
Yeah.
There is, I mean, I understand that this is fiction. I understand that this is fantasy. But
you have to be grounded.
You have to be grounded. And there is no real world fucking military that's going to go like, hey, you're 24. You did a few great things. Let's be a captain of a starship.
Yeah.
You were
There wasn't even any nepotism because his father was lower. He was a doctor, wasn't he? He was in the medical side.
No, he wasn't a doctor, I think, but he was. Anyway, whatever. And then just seeing Seven going from, and I mean, come on, I got a kick. I got a kick out of Seven.
Are we going to talk about the Q appearance?
It works. It makes sense.
No.
No, it does.
I liked his sending off in the last series.
No, I know, but you know why it worked?
It's not
wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
No, I get that he's saying time's not linear. He's not died yet. So at what point? At what point does? Yeah, but he looks like he aged himself in season 2, so we look more close to John to Picard's age.
I will grant you that. All I'm saying is...
So why is he now that age? Surely they would have used the CGI that they had in the second one to have him younger, and that would have made a lot more sense because time is not linear.
I grant you that one. All I'm saying is it works because he did say... Who says... he basically, what he said is, who says, I am the Q that your father witnessed dying?
But he is he's self-omnipotent enough to know what he said and that he dies.
So that's what I'm saying. It works. It works as in there were a lot of people who said it can't be Q because Q died. Yeah, but he's non-linear.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. What I didn't like, and I'm agreeing with you there, why would you be so invested in Picard's son? And well, that was it was unnecessary. But then again, let's be honest. About 2/3 of this season was not necessary.
If they don't open if they don't do a Picard season 4 and they do a spin-off or whatever it is, if they don't call the first episode Sins of the Father, they've missed a bloody trick.
They could have done so many things different and still made it. Like they took the Enterprise D, right?
Uh-huh.
They took the Enterprise D.
Yeah, because E doesn't exist. Worf.
No, but
blew it off the map.
They had the Stargazer right there.
I know.
They wanted,
which is probably a newer ship.
No, but they wanted an older. No, I mean not the new Stargazer. Picard's old Stargazer was in the Fleet Museum. It literally was.
Yeah, but Geordie's been restoring the Enterprise D, so he knows where it's up to. Whereas the Stargazer's been mothballed.
What I'm saying is, if they wanted an older ship and still use the fan wank concept, they could have said they're using the Stargazer. So what I'm saying is this entire season was all about so many throwbacks, and they wanted Q in there.
Yeah. What would have been funny is if they'd gone to the Stargazer and Picard had gone, why are we not using the Enterprise D? And Geordie goes, yeah, I haven't installed the warp drive yet.
It doesn't arrive until Tuesday.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
But
warp drive's on back order.
No, but of course it was, and I'm going to say, I know that a lot of fans hated the entire idea of the Enterprise D just flying around like some sort of fighter, like a Spitfire fighter plane or whatever. All I could think of when I saw all of those scenes was this is what they always wanted the Enterprise D to be.
Yeah.
But they couldn't pull it off because of special effects reasons.
Yeah, budget restraints.
Do you remember, like, look back at Star Wars. I love the original Hope.
Yeah.
But the original Hope, A New Hope, I mean, the original movie, A New Hope, is a very badly edited and filmed Star Wars movie. And at some point, there's a shot about an Imperial officer saying something like, oh my god, this ship has some maneuvers, this captain has some maneuvers, and all we see is the Falcon going wee,
Yeah.
and he's talking about
You mean
maneuvers.
you're judging something from the 60s on a 2023
No, no,
perspective?
no, no. That's my point. That's my point. By the way, 70s, late 70s. But that's my point because in
60s? No, 60s for New Hope.
no 20, it was released in 1977.
Okay.
Oh, you're dating yourself, honey. But my point is, in The Force Awakens, we see the Falcon doing maneuvers.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the shit that Rey did together with Finn, where they're doing some amazing in atmosphere maneuvers with the
Yeah.
Falcon, and they're doing this thing where they do this sort of loop de loop, and they shut down the engines.
Yeah, and let it drop.
And you see and then that made sense. That was what the Falcon was capable of, and the Enterprise D doing all of those fancy maneuvers, flying around, going whoosh whoosh whoosh. That for me was basically saying the Enterprise was always capable of doing this, but we never
Yeah.
got to show it like we wanted to. And Gene Roddenberry himself once said, when people were complaining about Klingons looking the way they did in the motion picture with V'ger and everything, where the Klingons suddenly looked very like he's like, this is what we wanted for the Klingons, but we couldn't afford the makeup.
I'd love if they do the Section 31, and I think it might be a time travel thing with Jojo in it. I'm hoping, I really want them to do that aspect of time in the Klingon Empire where they are. So if you saw them in Discovery, they were very much how Klingons were. Then you have the original series where the ridges disappeared due to a genetic virus from the Enterprise. I'd love to see that element of time where that change is happening in the Klingon Empire.
We have seen that Jojo encountered the Guardian of Forever.
Yeah.
What if the Guardian of Forever took a liking to her? Because we realized that the Guardian of Forever isn't just a device; it is a person.
What if he throws her further forward to where time travel? So if you saw the end of Enterprise where they talk about the time, not the Time Walk, that's Doctor Who. What's it called? What's the name? Cold War.
The Temporal Cold War.
Temporal Cold War. What if he throws her through to that point?
And this is an interesting thing because there were fans who were saying in Star Trek Enterprise, they were like, yeah, but the Temporal Cold War is over. No, it isn't, because it's literally temporal.
Yeah, you're thinking very linear.
That is very linear thinking. A temporal war is never over.
No.
So that could be fun. That could be a great idea. I wouldn't mind that. And then we can explore so many little different things.
Because they jump back to Archer's period, so that period is after that.
Yeah. I loved, by the way, the fact that they did the NX-01 refit.
Yeah.
In the museum, the one with the secondary hull and everything.
Yeah.
Kronos 1, the Bounty. Yeah, Star Trek Picard was riddled with basically fan wank. It was, but in this season, you know why I don't mind it in Star Trek Picard season 3? Because they set it out to be the ultimate fan wank. They set it out to be the ultimate homage, and realized nothing held back. We're going to go all in. Some things will probably piss off fans. Some things will piss off people, but you know what? We're not making this to be the best written Star Trek story ever. We want this to be the ultimate homage, the ultimate fan fiction towards the next generation. And the moment The moment where in episode 9 they step on the bridge and the lights
Yeah,
gradually go more and more and more.
yeah.
And
It was
Picard stands there and he looks around.
it was good to sit back. It was nice. I'd say
Yeah.
it just yeah. It felt weird also seeing Geordie on the bridge. Why are you not in engineering? Who just
A great nod towards the first season.
yeah, where
But
he's not.
somebody is asking, well, not somebody, it's Steven. Is asking which character was which character was the longest on the team, or part of the characters from the first movie series to the last. I thought it would have been Spock. I think it is probably Spock because we've
Yeah,
seen
will be because he's in the reboot.
he's literally in the
Yeah,
alternate universe section, and he's
which
in Strange New Worlds. But
if
I
if anyone's
suppose
if anyone's a Star Trek fan has not read the countdown to the reboot, which shows how it reboots, which is superb. It's got Geordie in it and everything, and it's got Geordie's jellyfish ship because he designs that jellyfish ship that Spock turns up in. It's lovely.
there is probably one character that has been around longer than Spock.
Um,
As a person who hates this line of thinking, I also agree with it. But there is one character that has been around the longest and is probably the most iconic Star Trek character. And she is called the Enterprise.
yeah,
In all her forms, in all her shapes. It's probably the Enterprise that has been around the longest. From Archer's NX-01
mm-hmm.
to the Neo Constitution NCC 1701G to the Universe Class 1701J. There has never been a character. There has never been a concept. There has never been a construct that has been a more iconic part of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Than the Enterprise. Yeah.
Right.
That was about an hour and a half of a live stream.
40 minutes.
Yeah. 1 hour, 40 minutes. You know what we forgot to mention? Or forgot to talk about? What did you think, on a whole, on season 3 of Star Trek Picard?
I liked it. I just think there was a lot of bits that didn't need to be included. I'd say the changing of the name, it was nice, but it wasn't necessary. The use of the changeling instead of the Borg, and then going back to the Borg, I would have preferred one or the other. But yeah, other than that, it was brilliant, and I actually really enjoy not the. So one of Geordie's daughters is LeVar Burton's actual daughter in reality, but I thought the actress,
the one that was on the Titan, right?
the one that's the engineer, not the pilot.
Oh, the other one was. Oh, I knew that one. Oh, okay, my bad. But yeah.
So the actress that plays the pilot with the other daughter is not related to him, but I thought she was excellent. I thought she's a really talented actress.
Very well done, and I'm really actually looking forward to a spin-off where hopefully she is part of. I agree with your reasoning. So I think that a lot of the things that would have made bad writing, like the changeling suddenly not being the biggest threat, the entire Enterprise G It all was a little bit too much.
The nod to Rene Auberjonois earlier in the series was lovely as well. After he's only passed recently, so
yeah. Which one was that again?
the actor played Odo. They said
no. But what nod? What was it?
Oh, they said about when they talked about talking to the head changeling, they were saying that about the virus and the cure was sent back with one of yours, and she said yes, the one that you kept as a pet or something to that effect.
Something along those lines, but that was cool.
And it said he was a brave member of the Starfleet or whatever.
Let's be honest, Star Trek Lower Decks did Deep Space Nine proper.
Haven't seen it. I don't. I don't like the animation style, so I think it's going to throw me.
Dude, there's an episode with Armin Shimmerman and Nana Visitor.
I do love Armin Shimmerman. I've just watched his podcast with. If you don't watch,
there's an episode with Nana Visitor as Kieran Reese.
I'm interested. If you don't watch the Shuttle Pod podcast, you're missing out because
I should.
It's really good. It's about the actors. It's not really. It is about Star Trek, sort of, but it's really about the actors.
I'm not big on podcast. But then again, basically, this is a podcast.
Yeah, and it's on YouTube, so it's not on Spotify or anything. It's on YouTube. But it's two ex-Star Trek people hosting it as well. The guys from Enterprise.
Dominic Keaton and Connor Turner, right?
Yes, they're a great mishmash of people. The Armin Shimmerman one, his story is ridiculous of how he got to where he was. It's just like none of that should have worked, and it somehow did.
Fun fact, Armin Shimmerman as Quark in season 1, his nose prosthetic.
Yes.
And ultimately, they realized it wasn't working for him, and they did a different nose prosthetic, but gave the nose prosthetic to his brother Rom.
Yes. and he talks about when he first played not Quark but the first Ferengi in TNG. He'd just come off playing a humpback with a limp in a Shakespearean play, and he turned up and did a humpback with a limp. And he goes, yeah. He just goes, I've been doing that for 6 months in San Francisco on stage, so it just came naturally.
I love that. Look, I agree with a lot of things. We're going to wrap this up because I got two or three more comments I want to go through. But I agree with you that if you really think about it, the writing on Star Trek Picard if you take it as a season on itself, a legitimately separately written show, I understand that it's not that great, but that's not how I view this show, because I understand that this show is basically written from day one to be a homage, a fanwank, a love story, a Valentine to Star Trek: The Next Generation, and even to a degree, Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
And a little bit of original series, just a touch.
And mostly the movies, a lot of nods from the movies, like in let's not go into detail, but that's why I loved it. That's why I adored it. And there's going to come a moment where I will have 10 hours of free time on a Sunday, and I'm going to binge this entire season and just be so happy of all the reminiscing of my childhood and my teenage years. But yes, as a show written specifically to be a standalone, of course there were so many flaws. Like the Borg literally taking over 20 years to rewrite genetic code into transporter systems thanks to changeling. What the fuck?
Yeah, from two different quadrants.
That doesn't make sense. But it was awesome.
Yeah.
Sure to say you're still in Star Trek, just watch the whole conversation in Star Wars. One question. I haven't seen any animated Star Wars bit. Which one should I watch or start watching right now? The answer is yes.
Clone Wars. Start with Clone Wars. My friend at work has started with Rebels instead of Clone Wars, and he's asking a load of questions. It's fucked him up. So you need to go back and watch Clone Wars first.
Yes, but watch the Clone Wars, except for the final season. Then watch Rebels.
The final season at the end. Yeah, that makes
because of Ahsoka. And Ahsoka in the final season of,
But only the first. I would say only the first series of Rebels before the final season of Clone Wars.
maybe, but the thing is, just because a lot of Ahsoka makes more sense when you understand her character, where she,
Yeah,
it makes a little bit more sense if you know where her character ends up in Rebels,
yeah,
and then see the final season of Clone Wars. You
yeah,
understand a lot more of the motivation of the young Ahsoka, and it just
yeah.
makes it sort of more bittersweet.
And also realistically, before Rebels, you watch the Bad Batch.
I still need to watch the second season of Bad Batch.
The ending, it's a very cliffhanger ending. I'm thankful that there is going to be a third and final series.
Oh, they confirmed it's the final series.
Third and final.
Oh, okay. I'll keep that in mind. I should probably watch this series. You should watch everything. Star Trek for realism, Star Wars for fantasy, or, well, basically yes, because Star Wars is basically fantasy set in space.
It's not. The very funny thing is Star Wars is not militarized, whereas I would say that Star Trek is. It's very militarized.
And the fun thing is, there's a big discussion in Star Trek where people saying Starfleet isn't a military.
They are. They have military ranks.
Yeah, but it's not military. But the thing is, they're not military as we know. Military
you have an intelligence section. You have a communication section.
One fucking starship, even not even the most powerful starship in Star Trek, but just one, like a Miranda class starship, has enough firepower to literally destroy a planet.
Yeah, well, you could realistically launch the warp core at the planet and shoot it.
There you go. But even just like if you had the complements, if you had like 40, let's say even 20 photon torpedoes on a Miranda class, and you strategically fire them at specific spots on a planet like Earth, that's Earth gone. That's literally glassing the entire. One photon torpedo has more destructive power than one.
Yeah, it's very militarized. But they play it off to a better future, whereas Star Wars isn't.
It is a exploration military. It is based on modern military discipline, but it is an exploratory force capable of defense. That's basically the thing. But it is more grounded in realism. But yeah, Star Wars is much more basically. If you look at Star Wars, I mean, come on, George Lucas was inspired by so much fantasy.
Yeah,
it is about a young child.
There's magical abilities.
Guided by a wizard to use a magical force with mythical weapons to defeat a horrific wizard warlord thingy. That's
with a pirate and with a pirate and a werewolf
and a princess.
Yeah.
So basically, it's all fucking fantasy. So it is true, but yeah. And Jamie C saying, looks like I would have to subscribe to it. Look, Disney Plus is actually pretty fucking awesome.
It's not, unfortunately for Jamie, we have some advantages in Europe don't. Fox is on Disney Plus here, whereas I know in the States it's Hulu, which it doesn't really operate in Europe. So you do have some disadvantages, but if you have a VPN, I'd highly recommend getting Disney Plus and setting it to UK and then changing it back to US.
Well, it depends on where he is, of course, but Jamie,
Jamie C is based in upstate New York.
New York.
Not far from Joe.
So here's the thing, in the Netherlands, what we have is we have Disney Plus, but a section of Disney Plus is called Star.
Yes,
which has all the things like you said from Hulu and everything. You need a PIN code to make sure your children don't access it, but in the end, it is we get things like the Alien franchise and Predator movies and lots of action movies and horror movies.
Which is split up more in the US.
So many TV shows that I can't even count. But yeah, so Disney Plus is, I would say.
Jamie C must have a VPN. With being an expat, a British expat in America, I'm suspecting he does.
Hopefully he can make that work. So what we said would be about an hour, almost 2 hours.
So that's nearly 2 hours.
But what I really love is the fact that you and I have been talking about discussing Star Wars and Star Trek on live stream. And the thing is, I think about this is about what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And we talked about this, not even. Yeah. But it was a hell of a lot of fun. And I would love to do this more.
Let's say so June is Ahsoka. Let's say we'll get to the end of Ahsoka and we'll do this again.
We haven't even done Andor. We haven't even done.
We haven't done Andor now.
We haven't done Obi-Wan. We haven't done. Yeah. I loved Andor. We haven't done Obi-Wan. Also, big fan thing.
The fight scene.
Do you know what I loved about? Let's just quickly say this. Do you know what I loved about Obi-Wan? And you can tell by the fan reaction.
Oh no. Okay.
You know what I love about. You can tell about the fan reaction during Star Wars Celebration this year, how fans are finally acknowledging what Hayden Christensen did for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, George Lucas is a great storyteller, but he is a horror director.
Yes.
And the way that the fans are finally appreciating his take on Anakin and
because
Darth Vader.
They've seen the sequel series, and the sequel series is a hell of a lot worse than the prequel.
I actually, you know what? I enjoyed the sequel series for entertainment. No, I enjoyed for entertainment, but don't go deep into it. But Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi, Star Wars Kenobi had the one line, and they filmed it in such an epic way with the lighting, the music, the voice working, everything, and Hayden's acting mostly, where he said, "You didn't kill Anakin.
Yeah,
I did." The moment where the lighting, where we see the blue lightsaber continuously, on his face, the reflection of the light, and the moment where he says, "I didn't kill Anakin," and the movement in his hands, where it's his red lightsaber becoming the light source on his face, and it becomes dark red, and you hear the change in the voice with both Anakin, but also the thing that they did with the James, and you hear him say, "I did." I cried a little bit there.
And the bit which it harks back to A New Hope, where he says, "A young Jedi, Lord Vader, killed your father. Darth Vader killed your father."
Where he says, where that line in it goes all the way from A New Hope. It goes from A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back to Return of the Jedi. The entire conversations, all of the conversations between Luke and Obi-Wan, where especially when he says a certain point of view,
and it's Anakin's point of view, not.
It is Anakin's point of view. Anakin literally said, "I did not kill Anakin Skywalker. You did not.
I killed him. Yeah,
I killed myself. I decided at that moment I need to die."
What you have to understand
suddenly,
he's not Darth Vader when he put the suit on. He was Darth Vader way before that. He's Darth Vader when he kills the younglings.
For me, that's the transition. The transition. There were a lot of moments where he wanted to do so many bad things to save.
The transitions, but Mace Windu Emperor.
The transition wasn't saving the Emperor. The transition wasn't killing Mace Windu. The transition was that one little moment.
No, it's when he chops his hand off.
It's when that young child is standing there and he says, "Master Anakin, what should we do?" And you see that hilt and it goes.
Yeah.
And at that moment, when Anakin decides, "I will kill children to save my wife," that is where he became Darth Vader.
No, but not just to save his wife, to become powerful enough to save his wife.
Not even that. That is so... Jesus, Adam, that is perfectly said. Where he said, "I will kill children to gain power."
Yeah.
That is where
to
Anakin
save
died.
Yeah. It's the whole... It's the whole the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
For me, that singular shot where you see the hilt lighting up and the child going, is the moment where Darth Vader was born.
Yes. The suit is irrelevant. The suit is merely who he becomes. He's already Vader. And we're all hoping for Mace Windu to come back with one cybernetic hand and all scarred. An old crotchety Samuel L. Jackson, please. With a young apprentice.
Can we just quickly side into another franchise for a moment? The Secret Invasion trailer.
Yes. Good. A lot of cameos. I'm hoping that the Louise Dreyfus cameos pay off in that series.
And I am going to be the one that says that I actually always loved the first Captain Marvel movie. I loved it.
Yeah. I hated the series. The series is god awful.
I haven't seen it.
Don't waste your time.
No, I will watch it because here's the thing. Apparently, the Marvels trailer is one of the most disliked trailers out there right now.
It's better than the series.
I fucking saw that. I was like, I want to see this.
Yeah.
What the fuck is up with all of these? This is all just women-hating bastards going out there, going whatever. But all of the shots with everyone. Sorry, I can't even begin to explain.
You've got 4 minutes. I'm gonna have to go because I'm running out of battery. I need the toilet, and we'll reach 2 hours. So
we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. Look, brother, we'll do a stream on that later. I will watch Miss Marvel and form an opinion on that. You go, do you? I'm going to enjoy my evening because this weekend it's the Dutch Beer Collective Beer Tupapalooza.
Oh,
they're all three of them, including me. 4 are going to be in this house, filming reviews, drinking beer, going live. It's a Dutch Beer Tupapalooza.
You're going to give Remy a massive wedgie.
Adam, this was fucking amazing. I love you, brother. Yeah. This was great. We're going to do more of these.
Yeah, if pick a subject and we'll do, even if it's just like one every month or a couple of months. Fine.
It'll be great. Have a good evening because it's pretty early for you.
Yeah, I've got to walk the dog. He's
go walk the dog. Go charge your phone. Go have a wank. Go have a pee. In whatever order that works for you. And,
some weird order there.
Talk later. Cheers, bro.
Bye.
Bye-bye.